Hey everybody, Adam-Wilber here. We're going to get creative today. Tensegrity tables are pretty hot. They've been all over the place, so I've been experimenting with them for quite some time and posted a little Tensegrity sculpture made out of playing cards onto my Instagram, and a lot of people asked how it was made. That's exactly what we're going to find out today. How do we make the playing card box Tensegrity sculpture? It's pretty simple. We need a few materials that you should have lying around your house. But let's just dive right in. Let's get our hands and our mind busy, stay creative, optimistic, and positive, and have something cool to show at the end of it. Let's dive in, check it out. Basically, I'm using prestige playing cards. These are bicycle branded playing cards that come in this really thick, strong box. They open this way. The cards themselves are actually quite crap. They're made out of a plasticky, rough material. So for magicians out there, do not get these hoping to do any kind of magic. They're really crappy cards, but they work perfectly for what we're about to do. You don't need the prestige brand playing cards. You can use any box and deck of cards. You do need two of these, so two identical boxes. I usually just alternate the color, one red, one blue, but with this, because of the thickness, it adds a nice little sculpture effect to it. It looks cooler in my opinion. So, two decks of playing cards. You're gonna need some glue, hot glue gun. Highly recommend this little Gorilla Glue gun. You can get these things at Walmart for almost nothing, and they've got a really fine nozzle on them, which allows for some precision gluing, which I highly recommend. So a glue gun, I'm gonna set this aside while it continues to heat up. Your deck of cards, we're gonna use some fishing line. This is 8-pound Tess. A couple cutting utensils, just some X-Acto knives. This is just a little pokey that's gonna help guide some of the cuts. So any sharp object, whether it's a needle, a pokey, whatever you got laying around, and some duct tape. That's it. Hey guys, so I'm editing this right now and I realized there's a few other things that I did not add into what you'll need. I started playing with it and came up with a different version. So anyway, you're also going to need some of this. This is just hemp. You can use any sort of cord, string, whatever you'd like. This hemp works really well, and you'll see in the final product, I used yellow against the black. It looks really dope. And the other thing is super glue. You're gonna need some super glue. I use the kind right from Hobby Lobby, which is super thin, and I use an accelerator spray as well. So sorry for the cut-in. Probably gonna see a lot of these cut-ins. This is my first time doing kind of a do-it-yourself video, so bear with me. But you do need some sort of hemp. You can use fishing line. I'll show you the difference, the pros, the cons, but this is the final product I went with, which was just hemp, straight hemp cord. So back to our regularly scheduled program. So let's dive right into how this thing is made. First things we gotta do is, I'm gonna take a couple of the playing cards. Now I've got a blue and a red. I've already made the red one, so this is what we're going to turn it into, essentially. Okay, we need two of these. So, take these out. Perfect. Just as I had hoped for. Two blue playing cards and the blue box. So since this one's already made, we're gonna set it aside, but we're gonna duplicate this exact same orientation, okay? So how do we do that? Well, first we need to bend these cards into the arm, and the easiest way is to fold in half and then into quarters. I'm gonna give those a good fold, good crease, just like such. I fold them back and forth on themselves a few times just so they're a little more pliable. Now these cards are junk, in my opinion, the prestige ones, but they are a nice plastic, which makes it so they're much thicker. They actually work quite well for the legs of this, the leg of the sculpture there. So go to find yourself a Walmart close by, buy yourself a couple prestige playing cards, and you're good to go. So all I'm doing is folding it in half and then folding the two halves in half on themselves. Just like that. And what that's going to allow us to do is fold this over into a triangle. Just like that. That's going to be the arm or the leg of the sculpture. I'm going to place a little hot glue right on that, glue it all together. I'm going to fold it over. I'll put the pressure down like this, and then take anything, kind of get inside of it here and just push down to make sure that glue adheres. Nice and simple. Just hold it down there for a minute and make sure that glue dries. You could also use super glue. I just like hot glue. I think it works a little better, a little quicker. It probably doesn't work better, but it is a little bit faster. So that's the first part of the leg. Now we're going to make a second one and wrap that around that. Okay, so now we're going to wrap this around the first one and give it a little bit extra length there. You are going to notice, obviously, that this one is thicker than this one because it's wrapping around this. So this thinner one, the one that we glued first, is actually going to be the top part of it, okay? So what I do is I put a little bit of glue on here just to hold it in place. But I'm not going to glue this one, I'm actually going to tape this one. That's where the duct tape comes in. So this bottom end isn't that pretty, but that's going to be hidden in the box anyway, and that's pretty good. Okay, so now we need to cut the hole in this and match it exactly. So we're going to have it sticking out, basically a mirrored image of this one. Okay, make sure that tape is down all the way. And the easiest way to do this is to just measure. So I'm going to put that right at the back end here, right at the end there, and then I'm just going to kind of mark holes where it goes. So you want it nice and straight, lined up nice and straight. All right, so now that piece comes out and this piece sort of flaps up, just like that. And that is going to allow this to fit in. That's way too much. So the goal is to get this stuck where the halfway point, the tip of this, comes to the halfway point. And it's nice because there's a nice little divider here. So you'll notice the tip of this one, as it comes up, rests just above that halfway point. That's exactly what I want with this. I want those to be almost identical. And then at the end, when it is correctly positioned, we'll be able to adhere them like such. And it'll give the cool illusion that they're floating, okay? I'm gonna eye it like that, and I'm gonna use hot glue to sort of tack it in place. You do also need to make sure that it's not crooked this way or this way. Okay, you really want it nice and straight. So I keep it just like this, nice and straight. And then I'm going to tilt it as far as I need it to go. It should be about there, and then I'm just going to tack this into place with some hot glue. Now before I do anything else, I let that dry and really just try and make sure it's lined up where I need it to be, and let that little bit dry. I just need a little bit to hold and I'll be good to go. So while we wait for that, I'll tell you a riddle. No, I don't know any riddles. I'm just kidding. We'll just patiently wait together. Actually, let me cut in a cool magic trick for you to watch right now. All right, it's somewhat tacked in place, so let's dive back down and finish this up. So it's got a little bit of a guidepost. It's lined up where I want it to be, almost over center line. It's a little bit crooked here, so I'm just gonna lightly push it over. That's why I tack it first, so I can make sure everything is lined up. Now I'm gonna tack the other side. And once this one dries, we should be in good shape to really give it some glue and lock it down in place. So the next step now is to secure inside of there with hot glue. And I'm just gonna drip it in. So I'm gonna hold it up like this and I'm gonna drip it in and try and line it up to where it hits that and kind of engulfs it. I don't have any method to this except exactly what I just said. Just sort of drop it in and let gravity take it where you want it to go. Try not to use too much glue because you don't want too much weight on this. You want the balance of this to be the same as the other one you made. So the lighter the better. But I did about 6 squeezes, let it fall in there, and now it's just sort of dripping along the side and coming around the bottoms. And once that hardens, it'll lock into place and this thing will be super secure, just like this one. That's nice and secure. That can hold a good bit of weight. Okay, we're good to go. So we've made 2 of those. So what you'll do is do this twice, right? Make that same thing twice. The last thing I'm gonna do is just wrap the base with a little bit of tape. I know it's black on black, which is ridiculous, and you probably can't see what I'm trying to show you, but I'm just wrapping it in tape just to tighten everything and kind of hide the ugliness of the glue there. Secure that in place and we should be in business. That is awesome. Okay, next step is we need to adhere the fishing line. So we want a piece of fishing line going directly from here to here. Easiest way to do that is with the hot glue. So I'm going to take a pretty decent amount of fishing line, obviously more than I'll need, but better to start with more than less. I'm going to place that right inside the first one here. Okay, I'm then going to drop some hot glue. So I'm just placing it right in the hole there, and I'm putting quite a bit in there. I don't care that it's way more than I need in there. While it's in there, I'm gonna drop some hot glue and try and seal that into place. Let that dry for a minute, and then we're gonna go ahead and drop a bunch more in there. Again, which is another reason I put way more fishing line than I needed down in the tube. So when I drop some hot glue in there, it will have something to adhere to. The key to it is that I really want it to be right on the center line there. I want it to come right out of the tip of the center there. So now I'm just gonna drop, now that it's tacked in, I'm just gonna drop a bunch of hot glue in there, let it drip down, and ideally, lock that bad boy in place. Or girl, bad boy, whatever. So while we're waiting for that to dry, what we can do is pre-poke the holes that we're going to be using to tie it all together. So that's going to go here, and then there's going to be 2 lines going from there to there. So that means I need to poke 2 holes directly straight through both sides there. I'm going to give myself a little wiggle room. So I come in just there. So it's not right on the corner, but just in the inside, squared off. Okay, I'm going to try and go straight down. I really want to get that as straight as possible and poke it through the other side. Now that it's poked through the other side, I come through this side, go straight through, and then try and line that up. The hardest part of this whole thing is going to be getting the fishing line through that. So we'll use a needle to make it easier. That's what we want, okay? That's gone straight through, right in the corner. Now we want to mimic that exact same position on the other side. Hey friends, this is Next Day Editing Adam again. So when I made this structure originally, I used fishing line and I used just 3. So I used these 2 here and the main one in the middle. That's what I was trying to replicate with the one you're watching now. I ended up changing it and not using just the 2 in the front, but I used 2 in the front, 2 in the rise. No, that would have been dope though. I used 2 in the front and 2 in the back. I also changed these from fishing line into the hemp cord. Looks much better, it's more secure. So you're still gonna adhere the fishing line in the middle, but now just poke 4 holes in all sides. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4 in the top piece, and replicate that on the bottom. So you'll have 8 holes, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. All right, so go ahead and do that now. You're gonna poke 8 holes in the 2 boxes while this thing is still drying. Right on. Okay, this is dried now, so it's nice and snug. It's not pulling out when I pull on it. What we're gonna do now is trim this up a bit. We don't need that much. Drop this into there, sort of eye out where we want it to be. That would be pretty great right there, I think. So now I'm gonna keep my finger there. Before I move too much, I'm just gonna mark that with a Sharpie. All right, so there's a little black mark on there, which I'm sure you can't see. But when you're building it, you'll be able to, and now I know I can line that up, and as long as I get that black mark glued to the corner here, I'm gonna be in good shape. So I'm gonna push that back in. I'm gonna glue this the exact same way I did the first one, by just dropping some hot glue right on top of it. So the length that I've got from end to end is exactly 45 millimeters. That's 45 millimeters from end to end. Doesn't have to be. I probably, if I was to redo it, would go a little bit longer than that. I'd probably go to 55 millimeters just so it's a little further down, but I think this will be fine. Now the next step, and you'll see once you get to this point, it will balance if I just put a little bit of pressure here and here with my thumb and middle finger. And that's the effect. I mean, that's the illusion in a nutshell. All right, for the next step, we're getting towards the finish line, and what you're going to want to use, well, the easiest thing to use is going to be Gorilla Super Glue and this accelerator. I get this at Hobby Lobby. This stuff just helps a lot to speed up the dry time of the super glue. Essentially, all we're going to do is take a needle, where we've poked those 4 holes, so we've adhered the middle piece. That's now glued in place. Wow, I guess the English language has slipped my mind for today. We poked 4 holes, and actually that's 8 holes. I said 4, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So there's 2 holes to each really, but essentially you're poking holes all the way through the box in all 4 corners and the exact same position in the top 4 corners, okay? Then I've taken the bottom of this, I took my hemp, threaded it through a needle, just took a needle, a big thick needle, threaded it through and pushed the hemp all the way through. So there was a long line coming through. I tied a knot on the bottom pieces. So that's how I started. I tied it all the way through. I pulled it all the way through, tied knots on the 4 bottom pieces, and then went to the top. And what you're going to do is pull them tight. You're just going to pull the thread tight until it feels like it balances. And the easiest way to do that is to grab these 2. Obviously, I've cut them off and adhered them, but I grabbed the overhang and just sort of pulled up until it was taut here. Then I did the same thing here. I pulled the back ones up until they were taut. Now, I probably could have balanced this a little bit more, so this was more level, but the way I would have had to do that would be to take the angles of this and push that over a bit. So this is experimental for me. In a perfect world, this would be directly over top, and these angles would be, the leg angles would be a little sharper, so it stayed flat. But I still like how it looks here. I think it looks great. And again, all I've done is taken the hemp cord, threaded it through with the needle, tied the bottoms off, and then once it's taut and you can feel that it's somewhat balancing, I drop a drop of the super glue on there, and as it's on there, I try and get it as neat as possible. As it's on there, I hit it with the accelerator. Takes a few seconds to dry. I then make sure it's nice and level, and I go to the back opposite corner, right? You don't have to do that. I've done about 20 of these and I've done them all different ways, but I think the easiest is to go from one corner to the opposite, and then to this corner and the opposite. But that's essentially it. That's going to be the structure. Now, because we have all 4 it's nice and solid. I can actually bend this around and it's not going to tip over. Another really cool piece of this is I can take, now that these boxes come apart, now if you use regular playing card boxes like this one, you won't be able to do this, but there's a nice illusion here where I can pull this apart and show. And now just those two front ones are making it balance, which is really trippy and pretty neat. Then you can put it back on and you're good to go. You can obviously knock it over, right? So it looks very flimsy. And then as you sort of piece this together, you're gonna snap it into place and all will lock in, okay? So again, all I did was just a little dab of super glue on top, hit it with the accelerator. These ones could be a little bit tighter. You'll see how they're a bit loose. That's okay. Maybe the next go round, I make another one, I'll pull them a little tighter. But again, I'm just experimenting with it right now. And that's the gist of it. That is it in a nutshell. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video and sharing this 25 minutes with me. I hope this helps spark some sort of creativity in you, helps to keep your mind and your hands moving. And if you know somebody that might want to make this project themselves, please share the video with them. If you would be so inclined, I would truly appreciate a like and a subscription. If you like these kind of videos, this sort of do-it-yourself stuff, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to do some more. Until next time, my friends, onward.